They say grief brings out two kinds of people. The ones who stand beside you, lifting you up when your knees buckle. And the ones who circle like vultures, waiting to pick your bones clean the moment you stumble. For me, that vulture wore pearls, perfume, and a permanent scowl. Her name was Karen, our HOA president, self-appointed queen of community standards. While I was still at my father's graveside, wiping the dirt of his coffin from my hands, Karen was already scheming. Scheming to use fine print, bylaws, and technicalities to steal the one thing my father left me, his $2.3 million ranch. She thought grief would make me weak. She thought rules mattered more than blood. She thought I'd roll over and hand her my family's legacy. But when you come for a man's inheritance, when you spit on the sweat of generations, sometimes all it takes is a single warning shot to remind you, some things aren't for sale. Not now. Not ever. My father wasn't just a landowner. He was a rancher in the truest sense, a man of grit, calloused hands, and a backbone forged by sunrises and storms. As a boy, I'd trail behind him as he walked the fence lines, his boots crunching against the dry soil. He'd stop to fix a loose post, wipe his brow, and tell me, "Son, this land isn't ours because it's on paper. It's ours because we fight for it. Because we keep it alive." The ranch was more than a home. It was history. It had seen droughts, floods, wildfires, and even a near foreclosure during the recession. But my father never let it go. He always said, "A man's land is his legacy. Lose that, and you lose more than dirt, you lose your name." So when he passed, I wasn't just mourning a man. I was mourning a pillar. A protector. And suddenly, the weight of protecting everything he built fell on me. I hadn't even unpacked his old boots when the knock came. Opening the door, I found Karen standing there, her hair sprayed into an immovable helmet, her clipboard clutched like a weapon. "Condolences," she said, with a voice colder than the steel gate out front. Without pausing, she added, "We need to discuss violations on your property." I blinked. Violations? She rattled them off like a prosecutor. Fence exceeds community height regulations. Barn was modified without approval. Livestock grazing past designated seasonal limits. Unapproved number of vehicles stored on property. My jaw clenched. These are ranch operations. Nothing's changed here in 30 years. Karen smirked. Rules are rules. If you can't comply, the board will have to take action. She left the words hanging like a noose, then pivoted on her heel and walked back to her SUV, her perfume trailing behind like poison. The next days were a blur of grief and paperwork, until the mail came. Each day, a new envelope. Each stamped with the HOA's seal. Notice of violation, $500 fine. Notice of violation, $1,200 fine. Final warning, property subject to lien. By the end of the week, their bogus fines claimed I owed nearly $10,000. At night, I'd sit at the kitchen table surrounded by these letters, hearing my father's voice in my head, "Never let anyone bully you off your land." And that's when I learned the truth. A friend on the board, a good man who couldn't stomach Karen's schemes, quietly called me. "She's been waiting for this," he whispered. "She's been planning since your dad got sick. She wants the ranch auctioned. She wants it split and sold. She even lined up a buyer, her brother-in-law." My blood ran cold. It wasn't about rules. It was about greed. A week later, I received an official summons to attend a board meeting. When I walked into that fluorescent-lit room, 6 people sat around a long table, their faces smug and rehearsed. At the head sat Karen, tapping her pen like a judge ready to pass sentence. "Thank you for coming," she said, feigning politeness. She slid a stack of papers toward me. "These are your outstanding fines. Totaling $12,475. If unpaid within 30 days, the HOA will initiate seizure and auction proceedings." I stared at her, then laughed, a bitter, humorless laugh. "Auction? On my father's ranch? You've lost your mind." Her smile never faltered. "Community standards apply to everyone." "You mean your standards," I shot back. "This isn't some cul-de-sac lawn. This is a ranch. A living, breathing ranch." One board member shifted uncomfortably. Karen shot him a glare sharp enough to cut glass. "You can fight this," she said, leaning forward, "but it will cost you. Lawyers. Fees. Court dates. You'll drain yourself dry." Or, she let the word linger like bait. "You can let the HOA handle it. We'll auction the land. You'll walk away free of debt. A clean start." That's when I realized, she thought I was broken. She thought my father's death left me too weak to fight. She was wrong. Over the next 2 weeks, her harassment escalated. She sent HOA enforcers to inspect my barn, snapping photos like paparazzi. She reported my pickup trucks as abandoned vehicles. She even filed a noise complaint against my cattle. One evening, I caught two of her cronies trying to measure my fence with tape. When I confronted them, they muttered about regulations and scurried off. Karen was turning the screws, testing how far she could push. It was a Thursday night when I heard the rumble of engines. I stepped onto my porch and saw headlights crawling down the road, stopping by my gate. My gut tightened. I grabbed my flashlight and rifle and walked toward the noise. There they were, Karen and 3 board members, hammering signs into my fence. White signs, bold black letters, property under HOA control, auction pending. Get off my land! I roared. Karen turned, her smug smile illuminated by the moonlight. Not your land anymore. You're in violation. The board has seized it. My hands tightened on the rifle. Seized? You don't have that authority. She laughed, waving her clipboard like a crown. I am the authority. You can leave quietly, or in handcuffs. My father's voice thundered in my head, a man doesn't beg for his land. He defends it. I raised the rifle, aimed skyward, and squeezed the trigger. The blast ripped through the night. The hills echoed. Birds erupted from the trees. Karen's face drained white. The men froze, hammers halfway down. I lowered the gun slowly. My voice came out steady, sharp as barbed wire. This land was my father's. Now it's mine. No paper, no board, no HOA will ever take it. That was a warning. The next one won't be. For once, Karen had no words. She scrambled to her SUV, her cronies tumbling after her, engines roaring as they vanished into the night. The next morning, I sat in my lawyer's office, dropping a fat folder onto his desk. Letters. Notices. Photos. Recordings. Proof of harassment. Proof of fraud. His eyes widened as he flipped through. They don't have jurisdiction over this property. None of this will hold up. We filed for a restraining order against Karen. We filed a formal complaint against the HOA. Within weeks, the cracks showed. Members resigned under scrutiny. The board collapsed. And Karen? She was stripped of her position and faced legal consequences for her fraudulent filings. The bogus fines were erased. The auction notices shredded. 1 month later, I stood at the ranch gate, staring at the spot where Karen once hammered her signs. I ran my hand over the wood, whispering to my father, "It's safe, Dad. They won't take it." Here's the truth, HOA Karens hide behind clipboards and bylaws, pretending it's about community. But for people like her, it's about power, control, greed. My father always told me, you don't just inherit land, you inherit the duty to protect it. And that night, with one warning shot, I fulfilled that duty. This ranch isn't for sale. Not now. Not ever. And if Karen, or anyone else, ever forgets that, I'll remind them the same way I did before.